Hello everybody, this is TechNolli, and it's been a while since we did a video. Been super busy with customer builds, so sorry about that, but I wanted to get out a video on the new Opencore 0.6.0. I want to show you guys today how to do the new website, because they've changed a few things, so I want you to be very clear how to make your EFI for yours. Now, this one, I'm going to base it off of a Gigabyte Z490 Gaming X motherboard. This is about a $160 motherboard. All of the settings on Opencore's Comet Lake seem to work fine on this board. So I wanted to show you guys a tutorial on how to build an EFI using the new Opencore website 0.6.0. So let's get started with this. Now, I've already downloaded all the files for this particular system, but I'm going to show you everything that we need to do, okay? So this is the new website, and we'll just click on Get Started. And what we want to do is just go ahead and go down here. Comet Lake is the new 10th gen Intel, and we're on a desktop. As you can see right here, it says Intel desktop config.plist, and here we are. So we're going to click on Comet Lake, and it's going to take us to our desktop Comet Lake guide, and this is for using Catalina 10.15.5 or newer. Okay, so make sure you're on at least 10.15.5 or 10.15.6. Okay, we're going to need proper tree. Gen SM BIOS is for after we install the Mac OS on our Windows PC. We change serial numbers and UUID numbers so we can use things like the App Store and iMessage and all those things. We're also going to have a sample config.plist to get started with. Now, the first thing we come to here is ACPI. Now, what we want to do is go over here to creating USB, click on that, and the first thing you want to do is download the Opencore package. Okay, so click on there. You're going to come to this web page, and you want to go down here and grab the release version. Okay, I did, and it's right here. Okay, then let's go back, and we're going to need proper tree. So you'll just click on code and download zip, and I've got it right here. And then another file you're going to need that is on my EFI downloads page is the Mount EFI update, which allows us to mount our EFI partitions. Okay, so with these files downloaded, all right, we can go ahead and look right here on the Comet Lake what we're going to be needing. Okay, now under ACPI, this is where we need all of these SSDTs. Okay, these SSDTs go into our ACPI folder on Opencore. So let me show you. So I double click on Opencore, double click on the EFI folder that I keep talking about, double click on OC, and then ACPI. And if you notice, there's nothing in here right now, and we need these files right here in here. Okay, or it's not going to work. They have made it so easy. You click on the first one right here. Okay, we need the SSDT-plug. And if you look over here, it says pre-built SSDTs. So you don't have to go through these processes now to build or compile your SSDTs. So let's click on pre-built. Okay, now if we go back to the guide, we see here I need SSDT-plug. So let's go down here, and here it is for Haswell or newer, and this is for power management. Okay, so we need this one. So we click on it, and they've made us a download, and I've got it right here, guys. Okay, right here it is. All right, so let's say you've downloaded that. Now let's go back. We also need SSDT-EC USB-X, and that one is right here. I've downloaded it. It's right here. And then we need AWAC, and it is right down here, right here, and it's also a download. Okay, you don't have to compile these anymore unless you want to. And then we need SSDT-RH or RHub. Okay, so we go down here, and there it is, and there it is. All right, so we've downloaded those. Okay, now for all of our Hackintoshes that we do, we're going to need Kext. All right, now I'm going to go over here to the Opencore, and what we're doing is we're building this EFI folder for Opencore. So I'm going to go ahead and open up ACPI, and while I'm thinking about it, I'm just going to go ahead and grab these and put them into here. Okay, so now my ACPI folder is complete. So I'll go back, and what do we need? We need Kext. All right, notice there are no Kext, and we need these. Now, how do you know which ones you need? Okay, so let's go over here to Gathering Files. So click on that, and it's going to take you to this page, and you're going to see the things that I'm talking about. Now, on your newer Hackintosh computers, on your newer motherboards, and not new, but newer, there's always going to be a need for whatever green, Virtual SMC, Lilu, and Apple ALC. This right here, this Kext, is for my particular motherboard's right here Ethernet controller. Okay, mine has an i219, and this says right here Intel Mousy is for all of these Intel NICs. Okay, and there's my i219. So I grabbed this one. If I click on that, it takes me right here, and I grab the release version, which is right here. Now, if you have a different Ethernet controller, then you need to look at these. This is very common now for the Ryzen motherboards. It's the i211 Intel NIC, and so you would use this small tree. This one is not used much for newer motherboards. This one is also used frequently for Ryzen boards, and this one is becoming more and more popular. And this is for the Realtek 2.5 gigabyte controller. And then we also have a patch now for the i225 NICs. Okay, and so that's what I have downloaded here. Now let me go ahead and continue. I'm back here to my EFI folder right here under OC, and I've got Kext, and I want to put these Kext into here. But all I want is just whatever green.kext. Okay, so I'm going to grab it, put it in there, go back, grab Lilu. I just want the Kext. I don't want this other file. All right, put it in there. And I want Virtual SMC, and you're going to see quite a few different Kexts under here. These are Kexts for sensors, like if you want to sensor your processor, then you would grab this one as well. But what I really need is this, or it won't even boot. Okay. All right, so let's go back. Here's my Apple ALC, which is my audio, kind of like a driver. All right. I'll put it in there, and then I've got my Ethernet driver or Kext that I need to put in here. All right, I am done with Kext. All right, let's go back. Now, there's also a folder called drivers, okay? And there's a lot of them already in here, but we only need one, okay? We need this open runtime.efi. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the rest of these. All right, and this one. All right, But I also need, as you can see here, it talks about firmware drivers. I need this HFS Plus, and I've already downloaded it. There's the download, and it's right here. So I will just go ahead and put it in my drivers folder. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this stuff because I don't need it anymore. Don't want you to be confused. Okay. So there we go. I'm getting it built up pretty good here. Now under here, tools, we don't really need all of these as well. Okay. And so I'm going to delete those and go back here and go back and go back, because what I need now is a config.plist. So under the docs folder, you're going to see a sample plist. Just copy it, go back, go to the EFI, go to OC, and paste it right here in the OC. But let's rename it to config. All right, .plist. Perfect. Okay, guys, so now we are ready to start building our config.plist. So let's go back over here to our Comet Lake, and let's go back to our guide, and we need to now open up proper tree. All right, so I'm going to open up proper tree, double click, right click on proper tree.command, and open. It's going to bring this box up, and what we need to do is go File, Open, and then go to my desktop where I have my Opencore folder. I've got the EFI, I've got the OC, and then I click on config.plist and open it. All right, so this looks a little scary, but it's really not, guys. All right, so let me go ahead and minimize all this, put this over here, and get my guide up over here, and let's start going down through here. So ACPI. Okay, here's ACPI. But if you notice, it has these warning messages right here. You can read these messages that they're telling you, but for right now, I know what they say, and I'm going to go ahead and remove them just to clean it up a little bit. You can leave them if you want, but I like to remove them. All right, so here's ACPI, and we already put in those SSDTs. Now, in our config.plist, all of the files in here that we did, we added these SSDTs, and then we added these drivers, and then we have these kexts, all right? None of them are reflected in here yet, and they have to be. So all we have to do with proper tree, which is so cool, is go right over here to File and go down to OC Snapshot. Click on that, and if you'll notice, it pops right up to our OC folder, and we just click on Choose, and it just injected all of my SSDTs, all of my kext, and all of my drivers in the proper order into the config.plist. I mean, that's just amazing. Okay, now while you're at it, just go ahead and go File, OC, Clean Snapshot, and just click on that to clean everything up, making sure that your SSDTs are turned on and everything is going to work. So we're done with this. So we can move on to Booter. All right, let's go down here to Booter. Okay, here's Booter. Now, if we go down here, it talks about all of these quirks. So let's go down here, and here's the quirks. Now, this is different than it used to be. Now, what Opencore people have done is they only talk about the things that need to be changed. So if it's not talked about here, don't worry about it. Leave it by default. Like avoid runtime defrag. It's set to true. They don't even talk about it here, so we leave it, okay? But what we're concerned about is it's set to true. This next quirk, okay? So we look at that and we look over here and we see it set to false, which is no. So we want to turn this on to true, which equals yes, okay? So we've got that one set. And then let's jump to enable write unprotector. Right there, it's set to true and it needs to be false. Okay, then let's go to protect UEFI and it needs to be true. And rebuild Apple memory map needs to be true. See, we're leaving everything else alone. We're not touching it. Set up virtual map needs to be turned off or false. And then sync runtime permissions needs to be set to true. So that's all they did, guys. It's really simple. It's working fine. Now, on this particular motherboard, device properties, this is where you can add some comments to device properties, which is this right here, is for using the desktop iGPU, the integrated graphics. I tried this setting. It doesn't work on this particular motherboard. So it talks about doing frame buffer patching guide. And if you go over there, you can look at possibly finding different numbers, platform IDs, that will get your onboard graphics to work. But what I've been told is it isn't working yet. So I'm going to skip this section and just go ahead and jump down to kernel, which is right here, because I'm using a graphics card, okay? So I don't need to worry about that. And it talks about Lilu and all of those. You can see they're plugged into my config.p list, so we're ready to go. So what we want to do, though, is go down here to quirks, and it's the same thing as up at the other one, the other quirks. We just scroll down here till we find it, and we leave everything alone unless it's talked about here. So Apple CPU, this first one, needs to be set to true. It's not needed if you can disable CFG lock in your BIOS, okay? So in this particular motherboard, I cannot turn off CFG lock. So I have to set this to true or yes because I don't have a way to disable it. If you do have a way to disable it, then you can leave this to false on the first two here, okay? But I can't, so I'm going to do what the manual says. Disable low mapper, this is another one. It's only needed if you cannot disable VTD in the BIOS. So in my particular motherboard, I can disable it, but I still set this to yes. And everything worked fine. I didn't try it the other way, but I'm sure it would be fine to leave it to set to false. Now let's go down here. We can skip this one because this is not an HP machine. And we'll go to Panic NoCex Dump and make sure that that is turned on. And also power timeout needs to be turned on. And our USB or XHCI port limit is also turned to true. Okay? That's to make sure that all of your USB ports are turned on. Okay? All right, so now we're down to miscellaneous right here. So we'll go up a little bit and we'll go to debug right here, debug. Now, it says right here, if you click on more in-depth info, it talks about what these particular items do. So this Apple Debug Yes enables boot EFI logging useful for debugging. Note this is only supported in 10.15.4 and newer. So if you're getting a bunch of error messages, then you want to turn this on and you can then start to get your debugging logs, okay? I didn't need that for this one, so I left it to false. I also left Apple Panic to false. And then disable Watchdog, you definitely want to turn on to true. And then come down here to where it says target 67. Right here, target 3. If you turn this target right here to 67, then you'll get logs printed out every time your computer boots, okay, which are useful in debugging. I don't need to do that, so I'm going to leave this set to 3 so it doesn't make the logs, okay? Let's move on down here to security, and we just want to do what it says. So allow NVRAM reset, definitely. Allow set default, yes. And then down here where it says vault, right here, it says secure. We need to type in optional. Optional doesn't mean you can leave it blank. You have to type that in. And then scan policy, right here, make sure it's set to 0. Okay, we're done with that. Now we come down to NVRAM, which is right here. Okay, so we have to make some changes in here under boot arguments. Okay, we'll go down here, and it talks about what each of these boot arguments do, and you can read the information about this right here. We're going to go ahead and copy the ones that are missing. So this one right here, debug, we're going to copy it. And then double click over here, put a space between each argument, okay? So space, and then we will put that one in there, and then another space because we need this right here for our audio. This boot argument, okay, and put it in there. Now, I am not running a 5000 series graphics card, but if you are, then at the end of this line, right there, you would put in this boot argument for 5000 series graphics cards, okay? Or if you don't, you'll get a black screen on your first boot up, okay? So I'm going to leave it like that because I'm not using a high-end graphics card. Now, right here, preferred language, okay? Right there, it's set to Russian, and we want to set it to English. Okay, if you want a different language, you just click here where it says Apple Keyboard Layouts. It'll take you to a website that'll show you all of the different settings. Okay, so if you'll notice right now, this is set to data. So I'm going to double click that and change it to string. Okay, then I can type in EN-US:0 and hit enter. Okay. Now we're in English. Simple as that. All right, so we go down here and we want to make sure that write flash quirk, which is right here, is turned on, and it is. Platform info, another very important part of our guide. It is already set to iMac 19,1, which for Mojave or newer, that is the Mac we are emulating for this particular Comet Lake board, okay? So we are emulating an iMac 19,1, and we've already got it right here. Now, right here, if you'll notice, we have the serial number right here. We've got a board number right here and a UUID number. I changed those after I install the OS, okay? And I've already booted up. So let's keep going down here, and it talks about the serial numbers and UUID. And it talks about, right here, if you're having problems getting your iMessage and things to work, what to do. So click on that right here, Fixing iServices, to learn how to fix problems that you may be having. Right here, UEFI. We'll go down here, and we don't have to do anything. There is one quirk down here, but it is set properly right here, set to no or false. So we're good to go. So that is it. Okay, so everything is done on this one. We're going to go ahead and click File and Save. If you don't do that, then all of the changes that we just did will not take place. Okay, now let's get started on the next step. Okay, so I'm going to grab a blank USB stick. It has to be 8 gig or bigger. And I'll plug it in here. Okay, let me go ahead and minimize this for now. Okay, so here's my blank USB stick. Now, we have to make a USB stick, a vanilla bootloader, to put our EFI folder onto so we can start installing the OS. So we've got our empty stick. I'm going to go over here and go down to Utilities, and I am going to use Disk Utility to format the USB stick. So make sure you click on the down arrow and Show All Devices, and right here is my USB disk 3.0. So I'm going to click Erase. I'm going to call it USB. I'm going to leave it macOS Extended Journal. Make sure you change this scheme to GUID partition map and click Erase. Okay, we're done with that. Now, what we have to do is we have to make the vanilla stick with, we're going to use Catalina, of course, because that would be all that is supported. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to show you under Applications. You have to have a computer that has your Install macOS Catalina in the Applications folder. Okay, so this is where you need to have a Mac to do this. Either your Mac or a friend's Mac or your sister's Mac or whatever. Download the latest version of Catalina and it will put it in the Applications folder. Okay, then simply go over to the web and type in make a USB boot Mac. Okay, and it will take us right here to our Apple page. Click on there, go down here, and we want Catalina, so we're going to grab this information all the way up to the / in front of volumes and copy it. Okay, then go up here to Spotlight and type in terminal, enter, and then just paste that line of text into here. But then we have to add USB, which is what we named our USB stick, and then hit enter. Put in your password, enter, then type in Y and hit enter, and it's going to start making your vanilla Catalina USB bootloader. As soon as this is done, we'll come back. Okay, so it's all done. Here it is. So there is our Catalina, all right? But now we need to put our EFI folder that we built, our beautiful EFI folder, onto this disk, but we don't want it on the root of the USB. We want it on the EFI partition, and it is hidden. So we need to mount EFI. So we need this program. Right click on mount EFI.command, and then we want to hit number 2, which is our install macOS Catalina right there. So I'm going to press number 2, enter, put in my password. And now there is my hidden EFI partition, okay? So now I can simply grab my EFI and put it right in the EFI partition. So there it is with all of its folders and everything ready to go. Now we can get into the BIOS and start installing macOS on this thing. All right, let's get into the BIOS. Okay guys, so we're going to start tapping that delete key to get into the BIOS. Okay, here we are. Now, sometimes when you boot into your BIOS for the first time, especially on Gigabyte, is you will have a screen that looks like this, which is called the easy mode right here. But we don't want easy. We want the advanced mode, which is over here. You can press right here with your mouse, or you can use F2 on the keyboard. So I'll press there. First thing we want to do is look over here at favorites, and you'll see here CSM support. We want to make sure that is disabled. VTD we want to make sure is disabled. Okay, then we can go over to Tweaker, and we want to come down here to Extreme Memory Profile and make sure that we have Profile 1 selected. If you don't, then it will not show the correct speed of your RAM. So if I click on that and disable, it's only going to show the RAM at 2133 megahertz, but we've got 3600 in here, so we want to take advantage of that and make sure we have Profile 1 selected. Now let's go to Settings and I/O ports. We are using a graphics card, so PCIe slot 1 is what we have selected for our PCI card. We'll go down here to Above 4G Decoding, make sure that's enabled. Everything else by default here. We'll go down to Super I/O and make sure your serial port is disabled. Okay, USB config, just turn those all on. Network stack, we don't need to worry about. NVMe, we don't need to worry about. Down here, SATA, we just want to make sure, and by default, it is set to enable and AHCI. So let's go over now to boot, and if we go down here to Windows features, we want to make sure we select Windows 10, not other OS. So make sure it's on Windows 10. And then we'll go down here to CSM support. We already disabled it. And then Secure Boot is disabled. So we can simply go to Save and Exit Setup, save the configuration, and I do have a Windows disk plugged into this thing, so I'm going to press the F12 boot key. Okay, now I can simply use my arrow keys and go down to the SanDisk, which is my USB stick, and select Install macOS Catalina External. Okay, and we will start going. We're going to go through a lot of text like we always do, and when it comes up to the format screen, disk utility, we'll come back. Okay guys, we're coming up here. Got the Apple logo. So once we get through that first screen and we get to here, we're pretty much knowing that things are going right. Okay, so we're coming up here to where we can get busy. So let's click on Disk Utility, Continue, and we want to make sure that we press the down arrow where it says View and show all of the devices. All right, now I can see the actual name of the NVMe or hard drive that I have connected here. Okay, so I've got this Sabrent 256 gigabytes, so I'm going to select that one and I'm going to click Erase. I'm going to name it Mac OS. And I'm going to change our format to APFS. That's a faster file format. And our scheme is GUID partition map, and click Erase. All right, click Done. Let's exit out of here and install macOS. We'll continue, agree, and agree. Select our hard drive that we just formatted, and we click Continue and Install, and here we go. It says about 3 minutes remaining. It's going to get down to 2 minutes remaining and reboot on its own, and that's totally normal, so don't worry about it. We'll leave the USB stick in there because we need to use it to boot. Okay? So when this gets closer, I'll come right back. Okay, it says about 2 minutes remaining, and we should get a reboot. Let's see if it does it. There it goes. Okay, so we're good. Let's leave it like that. Let it come back up. Now, by default, it will come up and pick the correct next step. It's going to pick macOS Installer, okay? So just leave it alone. Right there you can see macOS Installer, and it'll continue on like it knows just what it's doing, and it does, believe me, guys. So when this comes up to the next step, we'll come back. And here we go. Okay, so we're going to come up here to the Apple logo again to continue the installation process. Okay, and so it says about 12 minutes remaining, and that's about right. And this needs to go completely across to the end, and then it's going to reboot again on its own. And we want to leave our stick in there because we still need to boot from it. When this gets close to the end, we'll come back. Okay, less than a minute remaining. So we're going to reboot again. And there it goes. Okay, so this time when it comes up, it's going to pick whatever you named your hard drive, okay? I named mine Mac OS. So it's going to come up and it's going to pick Mac OS. There it is, and there it goes. And this is the last step in the installation. Okay, so we're coming up now, and we are ready to get busy. So there we go. Now I do have my LAN cable connected, so I'm going to go ahead and choose my country. Continue. And I'll just continue on this. Continue. I don't want to transfer any information, so I'll continue. You definitely do not want to sign in with your Apple ID at this point, or they may blacklist your Apple ID. So just set up later and skip. Agree and agree. And then just name it whatever you want. This is your login. And give it a password. All right, and you can change your little picture right here if you want. Yeah, pick an old sunflower there. Continue. Okay, and under Express Setup, I usually click on Customize because I do want to enable location services, but I don't want to send Apple any info about my computer, so I just uncheck that and click Continue. And screen time setup, I'll just continue. I don't want Siri, so I'll uncheck it and continue. And here you can pick light or dark mode or auto. I'm going to choose auto. Continue. And that's it. Now guys, this looks really simple. I understand. It looks really simple, but it can be tricky. And if you do run into problems, you can always go over to my paid support and I can help you out, okay? Right here, we want to tell it what kind of keyboard we have. So we'll click continue and we'll press the keys it wants us to click and click done. Now, we are not finished, right? We need to transfer the EFI that we used, that we built the computer with, the EFI folder, onto the EFI hidden partition on the hard drive. So let's go over to the TechNolli website because we're going to need a couple files. Okay, then just click on EFI downloads, and we're going to need Mount EFI, so we'll download that. Okay, we'll go back and we're going to need Gen SM BIOS to generate our serial numbers. Okay, download that. And I'm going to grab proper tree. All right, and download that. Okay. So let's go over to our downloads and start with transferring the EFIs. So we'll mount EFI.command, right click and open, and OK. And then we want to choose our stick, which is install macOS Catalina. So press 1 and put in your password. And then we also need to select our macOS, which is our NVMe hard drive, right? So we'll click 3, enter. And now go out of here and go to our computer, and there is our EFI hidden partition on the computer, on the hard drive, on the NVMe. So we want to transfer this EFI folder into here. Just copy it over. All right. So now we don't need the stick anymore. So I'm going to eject it. And I'm going to go back to downloads, and I'm going to generate some serial numbers. So let's gen smbios.command, right click and open, and then open. Okay, then we want to select number 1, and then enter, then select number 2, and it wants to know where is your config.plist. So we'll show it where it is. So we'll go to computer, and EFI folder, OC, and there it is. I just drag it over here and hit enter. Now it knows where it is. Now we press number 3 to generate our numbers. Now if you remember in the config.plist, the system product name is iMac 19,1, and we need to have that here. And then press enter. It just generated the serial number, the board number, and a UUID number. Okay, so we press return and then Q for quit. We are done with that. Go out of terminal. And then one last thing, we can go back to proper tree, propertree.command, right click and open. And we can open up our config.plist, which is down here now, Mac OS, and there it is, EFI, OC, config.plist, open it up. And if we want to get rid of all the text, now we can just minimize all of these until we get down to NVMe. And if you'll remember in the guide, -v equals verbose, which is all of that text on the screen. So we're going to double click and just get rid of the -v. Okay, and then click enter, and we can click here and say yes to save. Now when we reboot, we're only going to see the Apple logo after the picker. So let's do that. Okay, and by default, it picks our Mac OS, and there we go, just like a real Mac. There we go, put in our password. All right, and if we go up here to About This Mac, we can see that we have our serial number right here. Okay, so that is it, guys. Opencore just keeps getting better and better and better. It's just amazing how good it is and how well it works. I hope this guide helps you out a lot, and so you can get your Hackintosh up and running. If you're having problems, go over to my website. I do have paid support. I do have an option available, so you can send me your motherboard and your NVMe drive so I can hack it for you if you're having problems. So a couple of options for you if you're not able to get it done. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. Please, please, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.